Week number 6. It is the Pick'em tournament. It is week 6 picks, and I'm just going to say it. This season is incredibly frustrating. I mean, I'm off to a real bad start, 43 and 35 on the season, 6 and 8 in week 5. I mean, this season has been very frustrating so far. So, to be honest with you, I'm kind of losing confidence with my picks now, but um, I'm just sitting down here and I'm just gonna make the picks to the best of my ability and just pretty much hope and pray at this point to just have a solid week. But these are my week 6 picks of the 2024 NFL season. Again, we only have 14 games. I have the bye week crew listed on the screen right here. Don't remember at the top of my head, but yeah, week 6 picks. And let's get on to it. So, starting things off with, as usual, Thursday night football in Seattle, as we got the San Francisco 49ers going to Seattle to play the Seahawks, as another inexcusable choke job by the 49ers, as they had a 10-point lead on the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals came back and won. Another Kyle Shanahan choke job, second time the Niners have done it, as they're 2-3. While the Seahawks, they're a little bit, iffy as well. They started 3-0 and now they've dropped 2 straight and they're 3-2 right now. They lost at home to the Giants. I don't know what the deal is right there, but to be honest, neither of these teams are really playing great football right now. So this one was definitely difficult to think about. But with me personally, I think it comes down to more of who I trust more talent wise. And while I don't deny the Seahawks absolutely have a loaded offense, and they do have an offense that is more than capable of putting points on the board, I really don't know if I can still trust Seattle defensively. While you take a look at the 49ers, they at least have the intangibles to be a solid offensive unit, despite them being down, a couple of key players on the offense. And the Niners, I mean, they still got a really loaded physical defense as well. But the problem with San Francisco is that, again, it's just with injuries. And this kind of reminds me of 2020 when the Niners were coming off losing the Super Bowl coincidentally, and they were injured for much of the season. It may have been 2021 now that I think about it. I think it was 2021. But the Niners were injured and they got healthier as the season progressed. And I think that could be the case again for San Francisco. I'm not ready to give up on them just yet. Whereas the Seahawks, they're taking a little bit of a dip right now. So for that reason, despite the Seahawks staying at home and despite them despite the 49ers having to go on the road on a short week, I'm going to lean towards San Francisco in this one. I could honestly see this matchup going either way, but like I said, if you ask me, I think it comes down to health and whose roster I trust more. So I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one and get back to 500 and drop Seattle to 500. So yeah, give me San Fran here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got our second London game of the season as a hometown favorite up in London. The Jacksonville Jaguars head on back to their unofficial home to take on the Chicago Bears as Jacksonville, they finally got off the schneid and they picked up a W against the Indianapolis Colts as the Jaguars, they always have a really strong showing against the Colts when it comes to playing them in Jacksonville. They have beaten the Colts at home every single year since 2014. I believe they were the last team this season to pick up a win. So every team in the NFL has now won at least one game. So kudos to them. And as for the Chicago Bears, they are playing some really good football right now. They are 3-2. They whacked the Carolina Panthers last week, 36-10, behind a strong defensive outing and a really good game by one Caleb Williams in his rookie year. He continues to make a case for rookie of the year, although there is another quarterback that I will be getting into later in this video that I think is a little bit more deserving of Rookie of the Year right now. So this one seems a little lopsided, although I will say that you probably should not be sleeping on the Jaguars when it comes to them playing in London because they are known to play their best football up there across the pond. But in either case, I'm going to roll with the Bears to make it to 4-2, and I got them continuing to play well in this young season, and Caleb Williams and that defense continuing to turn some heads up in the NFC North and keep pace, quite frankly. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears to win this game over Jacksonville. Okay, back to my normal voice. Sunday slate of games. We got the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers going at it in Lambeau, as the Cardinals, I mentioned a little bit ago, got it done over the 49ers in shocking fashion, 24-23, rallying from a 10-point deficit to beat the 49ers. And Arizona, I believe, is 2-3 on the season. And then you got the Green Bay Packers. They are 3-2. I can't remember if they, regardless. Yeah, they're 3-2. They beat the LA Rams. But yeah, Green Bay's 3-2. They're coming back home. I wasn't particularly impressed with the way the Packers played because the Rams, they're severely undermanned. And as Arizona has shown, in recent years, they are capable of pulling off an upset or two. So I really think this has the potential to be a possible upset candidate. And I was close to making this my trap game of the week, but after thinking about it, I'm not going to overthink it too much. I'm going to go Green Bay to win this one because I think they're healthier on defense than the 49ers are right now. And I think that's part of the reason why the Cardinals were able to mount that comeback. It's because the Niners are just banged up. And I like Jordan Love rebounding and getting back on track here against a Cardinal defense that is very prone to giving up big plays. So I think those are your key differences right here in this matchup. I'm going to go Green Bay to improve to 4-2. I just don't think the Cardinals are, it's sad. I had some faith in the Cardinals early on in the season. I picked them to pull off a couple of upsets, but it just hasn't been the case so far. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers to improve to 4-2. AFC South showdown up next. We got the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans down in Nashville. Well, this is not only a AFC South showdown, but as you can see, this is also my toilet bowl of the week. As the Colts, they are 1-4 on the season, or 2-3. I'm sorry, 2-3 on the season, as their struggles continue. And the reason that this is my toilet bowl of the week is because I just think this is the least interesting matchup of the week. And Tennessee, I believe they're coming off their bye, but the last time the Titans played was on Monday Night Football in Week 4 when they finally started Mason Rudolph and they got in the win column against the Miami Dolphins, where the Titans had a really good game against the Miami Dolphins. But, the Dolphins, they're suffering heavily because Tua is going to be out for an extended period of time. I still don't know the extent of his return. Come to think of it, I think the Dolphins may be one of the teams that are on the bye. Again, I had the bye week teams posted earlier. I'm just recording this right now. But regardless, I think it's going to be a matchup really where I'm a little undecisive about the quarterback matchup because Anthony Richardson does have a chance at coming back in this game. And honestly, I think they'd be better off with starting Joe Flacco because they've gotten more production on offense with Flacco in the game. than they have with Anthony Richardson. So, yeah, I don't think it could hurt the Colts to start Joe Flacco for at least one more week. And then Tennessee, I don't know what it is with Brian Callahan and him continuing to start Will Levis, but if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm starting Mason Rudolph in this game. There's no reason to start Will Levis. He just hasn't gotten the job done for Tennessee. I don't think there's any reason to not play Mason Rudolph in this game. So this one took me a little bit to think about because on one hand, I do want to favor the Titans because they're the home team, but I think I'm going to go Indianapolis on this one because I think they have more of an identity on offense, and I think I just trust them a little bit more offensively than I do with the Titans. To me, it's going to come down to who I trust more with the ball in their hands last. And if the Colts do start Joe Flacco in this game, I think I could trust Flacco more with the ball in his hands with one more chance to win than I would with Mason Rudolph. So I'm going to go with Indy to win this game, although I'm going to keep my eye on this game. But for right now, I'm going to go Indy to win. Then we got the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots in Foxborough. And to keep it short, Houston's going to be my lock of the week. The Texans are legit. They're 4-1 on the season. They're coming off of back-to-back last-second wins or late comeback wins against Jacksonville and Buffalo, respectively. Texans drilled a 59-yard field goal to win it against Buffalo, and Houston is playing real well. They're 4-1 as the offense continues to click, and the Patriots, they are just looking really bad. They're looking like the team that everybody thought they'd be. The headline for the Pats in this game is that Drake May is going to make his debut in this game, although I think he should have gotten the start last week. But that's just Gerard Mayo. He's just not a good head coach. I don't know what he was waiting for to start Drake May because New England took him that early in the draft for a reason. So I don't think it'll matter. I'm going to go Houston to win this one. Like I said, they're my lock of the week right here. This is one of the easier picks. Next, we got an NFC South showdown between the Tampa Bay Bucs and the New Orleans Saints. This one is down in the Superdome as Tampa Bay is coming off a very tough loss last Thursday night to the Atlanta Falcons, 36-30, a game in which Baker Mayfield played really well once again, but the Bucs defense just couldn't stop Kirk Cousins, who threw for over 500 yards against them. But regardless, I think Tampa's okay. They're 3-2 on the season. I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet with them. I think they just, had a bad night defensively. But the big advantage for Tampa in this one, if you know how these picks videos go for me, you probably know where I'm going with this. The Bucs had 10 days of rest, and despite them still being on the road, that serves as a big advantage for them. But then you take a look at the New Orleans Saints. You want to talk about a team that's done a complete 180 for this season? That's the Saints. They were scolding hot on offense to start off the season, and they have just completely cooled down since then. They've only scored 49 points total since starting off the season, scoring 91 points through 2 weeks. So the Saints have definitely cooled off big time. The offense has gone silent. Derek Carr, I was never sold on that guy. I really don't think he's that good of a quarterback. And Tampa Bay, even though they're not the best defensive team, I really don't see them having trouble getting to Derek Carr. I think Tampa needs to have Derek Carr beat them in this game. So as long as they can stop Alvin Kamara, Tampa has a really legit shot at winning this game. And as for the Saints defense, sure, they can cause pressure on Baker Mayfield, but they need to step up against Tampa's weapons. And Baker just looks like a completely rejuvenated quarterback down in Tampa, wanting to be the guy, wanting to potentially be the franchise guy. And for that reason, for them having the 10 days of rest, I am going to go with the Bucs to win this game. Like I always say, a solid 9 times out of 10, I tend to go with the team that played on Thursday in this type of matchup here because they have the extra days of rest. And also the Saints, like I said, they've just completely cooled down on offense. Weeks ago, I probably would have taken the Saints to win this game. But right now, I'm going to say Tampa wins this one to improve to 4-2. Another relatively easy one as we got the Cleveland Browns going to Philly to play the Eagles as the Browns got absolutely stomped on all over by the Washington Redskins 34-13. Jaden Daniels just keeps on doing it, man. And the Browns are just totally miserable. Another awful game for Deshaun Watson. Another awful game for the Browns offensive line. No defense at all. Cleveland, they're looking like they're going to be a team that's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft this year. And I just love to see it, man. That is complete karma for Cleveland. You know, Deshaun Snyder stinking up the joint for Cleveland and watching their old quarterback down in Florida just light up the scoreboard for the Bucs. I love to see it, man. Complete karma. Only Cleveland could mess up this bad. And I don't feel bad for them at all. Eagles are coming off their bye week, I believe, and the last time they played, I believe they won, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. It was a couple weeks ago, but I'm not going to sit down here or no, they lost. They got destroyed by the Bucs. However, if there's one thing that I can kind of trust Philly with, it's rebounding after a bad loss. And they are coming off their bye. That's a big advantage for Philly right there. They had all that rest time. They had all that extra preparation. The Browns are coming in, just completely unconfident in my opinion. Yeah, I'm going to go Philadelphia to win this one here. I think the Eagles are just head and shoulders the better team here. They got the extra rest. The Browns just have no faith in themselves. They got no faith in Kevin Stefanski. Deshaun Snyder, he is a big locker room cancer. Not even his own teammates like him. That's all you need to know about that. Philly wins this one. No contest. This right here is my game of the week. We got the Battle of the Beltway as the Washington Redskins at 4-1 leading the NFC East, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are 3-2. And after an 0-2 start, they've won 3 straight games. And right now, the Ravens are leading the AFC North due to tiebreaker over us. As, I hate to say it as a Steeler fan, the Ravens are starting to look like the offensive team that most people thought they'd be. They won a shootout over the Bengals in overtime, 41-38. Lamar Jackson, great game. Great game once again. He had that awesome touchdown pass where he was being flushed in the pocket and he had all that time and he was scrambling around. And, I'm saying it. The Ravens are playing up to par. They found their identity on offense, but, their defense is just still, their defense still is just giving up a lot of big plays. And I think that's something Washington can expose in this game, because I love the momentum they have coming in this game with Jaden Daniels. I love how Jaden Daniels is having confidence and he's taking these deep shots down the field and he's forming chemistry with his receivers, because, like I said in my Jags Bears pick, Caleb Williams, he has a strong case for rookie of the year, but my pick right now is absolutely Jaden Daniels. And something about Jaden Daniels that I think kind of goes a little bit unnoticed is his rushing ability. We all know he has a strong arm, but I think his legs have gone unnoticed. He has the most rushing touchdowns by a rookie quarterback in his first 5 starts in NFL history. So you could be looking at a matchup here between 2 quarterbacks that can get the job done with their legs, So, very intriguing matchup here. However, like the Ravens, Washington's defense is still a little shaky. And with the momentum the Ravens have going into this game with the offense they have, they're definitely going to be tested. So, yeah, this is definitely my game of the week right here. I could see this being another shootout for the Ravens right here. And man, as much as I really want to pick Washington to win this game because I love the momentum they have, at the end of the day, I just think the Ravens have more experience than they do. Plus, the Ravens since they made Lamar Jackson the starting quarterback, they've only lost 2 NFC games. So they've had their way with the NFC over the last 5-6 years. And like I said, I really want to pick Washington to pull off the upset here, but the Ravens are at home. I think they just want that home win, and I think they're just going to outperform Washington's defense here, man. I think another big X factor is going to be Baltimore's offensive line. If you can't pressure the O-line and you can't make Lamar flush in the pocket and you can't get them, it's going to be a long day defensively for Washington. So, sorry, sorry, Commanders fans. As much as I want to take you here and as much as I want to see your win streak continue, I think this is where it snaps right here. I'm going to take the Ravens to win a very close game over Washington here. Then we got the later slate of games, the 4:00 hour games on my time. We got the Chargers and the Broncos in Denver. Chargers, I believe, are coming off their bye. And the Broncos all of a sudden have won 3 straight games after starting 0-2, as well as the Ravens have. The Broncos have looked really good. Shut down Baker Mayfield and the Bucs back in week 3. And then they won against the Jets in week 4, kept the Jets out of the end zone, and then demolished the Raiders last Sunday, 34-18, their first win against the Raiders in about 5 years. And Denver's defense has really played well. Remember that game last year where the Broncos allowed 70 to the Dolphins? Denver has allowed a little over 16 points a game since then. And this season, Denver's defense is allowing a little over 12 points a game. So Denver is playing incredibly well on defense. And I think Bo Nix is really starting to find his rhythm and he's really starting to find some more confidence. I was hard on Bo Nix for the first couple weeks, but I really think he's starting to play like the quarterback that the Broncos thought that they had. And then you take a look at the Chargers. Yeah, I know they're coming off their bye week and they have some, extra rest factor going into this game, which I tend to lean more towards. But here's the thing with the Chargers. They have Alt Slater, their top 2 offensive tackles, Joey Bosa and Colson are all questionable for this game. So the Chargers could potentially be without a lot of their starters in this game. Derwin James is back in this game after he served his 1-game suspension. And I just think those are just a lot of things the Chargers have to deal with here, considering the type of defense that they're going up against here. Because if week 3 showed us anything about Justin Herbert, it's that he doesn't do very well against defenses that can cause a lot of pressure. And you're also looking at a Broncos defense that can score as well. I mean, Pat Surtain had a 100-yard pick 6 against the Raiders. So there you go right there. I think if the Chargers are to have a shot at winning this game, they got to run the ball here. They got to they got to keep that Broncos defense working. But like I said, I think I just trust Denver's defense right here very much, and I really don't trust LA defensively at the moment right now. Although I do think the Chargers could humble Bo Nix up a little bit here, but I do think Bo Nix is more than capable of getting past the 17-point watermark here. So that's my takeaway. So in conclusion, this is going to be my upset of the week. The Chargers are favored to win this game as I'm recording it. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos to win this game and keep up the momentum and keep it rolling and improve to 4-2. Who'd have thought this Denver team would be 4-2 at this point in the season? I didn't think so. If, in fact, if the Broncos win this game, they're going to match my win total that I gave them in my season predictions. I had Denver being possibly the worst team in the league this season, but they're playing like a dark horse team, no pun intended, but they're playing like a dark horse team, man. So I'm going to go Denver with my upset of the week to make it 4 straight wins. Give me the Broncos. My matchup right here, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. Another classic rivalry, as this was a huge rivalry in the 70s as well. Obviously, the Steelers and Raiders met in the playoffs 5 straight years in the 70s. And more often than not, the winner of the matchup went on to either win or at least make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, Steelers, Raiders. Obviously, you know the story with us. We're 3-2 on the season. Who'd have thought we'd have the same record as the Denver Broncos at this point? But we're 3-2 on the season, coming off a very frustrating loss once again to the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, or I guess if you want to call it early Monday morning football. But we're 3-2 on the season. Awful coaching decisions, awful play by the offense, no aggression. The defense couldn't stop anything except, you know, they got 3 turnovers on the night, but other than that, this defense couldn't stop a passing attack by Dak Prescott. They had trouble stopping the run. Run game couldn't do anything against one of the worst run defenses in the league. And then you got George Pickens acting like a complete child at the end of the game, and he's just he just lacks professionalism. That's all there is to it with George Pickens. And while he is lacking professionalism, Mike Tomlin at the same time is treating this like it's a scandal that he's hiding. Like he's hiding details from the media that he doesn't want the media to know about. Like if your player's acting up, you owe it to the media when they ask you about stuff like that. Because in Tomlin's press conference, and I know I want to save some of this for my pregame, but when Tomlin was asked in his press game conference on Tuesday about if how Pickens' negative attitude was affecting the Steelers, Tomlin said that he had no outlying problem with it. Okay, cool, Mike. So you're just telling us that you have no care in the world that your players are acting out and you're not going to do anything about it. Like I said, I'm going to have more in this in my preview, but the Steelers right now are facing a lot of drama and there's a lot of uncertainty with us. And our opponent, the Raiders, are also dealing with drama. All you got to do is look at Davante Adams. He wants out of Vegas, and his head coach wants him out of Vegas too. Antonio Pierce, it's a say it without saying it sort of thing. He has shown multiple times over the past week and a half or so that he does not want Davante Adams on this team. So I don't know what teams are going to give up what for Davante Adams. I imagine they're going to offer a haul for him, but the Steelers are definitely not one of those teams I would imagine that Davante Adams would want to go to. All he has to do is look at this offense, look at the scheme by Mike Tomlin, and he'll be like, no, I do not want this guy as my head coach. I do not want to play this type of offense. I don't want to be rotated like Tomlin did to George Pickens for seemingly no reason unless there's something else that Tomlin isn't telling us about. So it's a very drama-laden matchup here between two franchises that had a heated rivalry back in the 70s. That's what it's boiling it down to. You know? I'm just saying it, guys. If I'm the Steelers GM, I am not giving Najee Harris a 5th year. I'm not. officially lost any kind of hope I've had for Najee Harris. Back-to-back weeks, he hasn't had good games against two of the worst rushing defenses in the league. Oh, but it's the offensive line. Oh, what do you want Najee to do with that O-line? He had 1,000 yards rushing in his first 2 seasons with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. And the Colts and Cowboys were both bottom-tier rush defenses. And Najee was missing gaps and holes that the run blocking was giving him. He was missing them. He was dancing around like he always does. You got to put blame on Najee. I know our offensive line is very below average, putting it lightly. But you got to put blame on the player at the same time too. He was missing them. Very disappointed with Najee. And like I said, if I'm the GM, I'm not giving him a 5th year. I mean, like we saw the game plan last year against Vegas where Pickett passed all over him. I think Justin Fields is capable of doing that too because, Justin Fields, he has progressed as the weeks gone by. Yeah, he didn't have a great game against Dallas, but, he did okay. He didn't do awful, but he didn't do great at the same time. It was a very average game from him. He was responsible for both our touchdowns. So I can't get on him too much for that. But if you become a one-dimensional team on offense and defenses know that they can just pin their ears back and, not and, just go up against our second and third options because our best player on offense, it's just becoming a way too predictable. It's just a way too predictable formula. It's a one-dimensional formula. And that's what the Steelers are. And it got exposed in front of the whole country. I really don't care who the Raiders have or don't have on their team right now because a couple of things. Number one, we're coming into this game ice cold on a 2-game losing streak, and we're down several key starters in this game. Okay? That's number one. Number two, if you know the history between the Steelers and Raiders, it's that last year when we won in Vegas, it was the first time the Steelers beat the Raiders on the road since 1995. We never play well against the Raiders in their stadium. And number three, this is a vintage Mike Tomlin trap game right here. Because you know what he's going to do. Okay? He's going to look at the Raiders and be like, oh, well, they lost to the Broncos. We don't have to go all out on them. We can take our sweet time in the first half because they're going to, we can take our sweet time in the first half because the Raiders are going to think that we're just sloppy and off or whatever, and then we'll pick things up in the second half. Yeah, it really hasn't worked out lately, hasn't it, Mike? So for that reason, hate to do this, guys, but I'm going to say we lose 3 straight games. I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game. I don't have any confidence in this game. It's amazing how my confidence went from like here to here in a matter of weeks. It was just a painful reminder of who our head coach is. That's all it boils down to. Yeah, I don't feel confident for this game. And again, I'm going to get more into it in my preview. For Pick'em's sake, I'm going to take the Raiders. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for us to win. That's all there is to it. I'm a fan. But for Pick'em's sake, I'm taking Vegas. Again, more of this in my preview. Next, we got another great matchup here, a rematch of last year. We got the Detroit Lions going down to Dallas to play the Cowboys, as last year when these two met on a Saturday night game, I believe it was, the Lions lost a very tough game to the Cowboys, and that was the infamous game where Dan Campbell went for 2, and it backfired against them. when it had that penalty in the end zone and he tried to do it again. And hopefully Dan Campbell learned his lesson from that one right there, because like if a penalty happened in the end zone and you just scored a touchdown, they're expecting you to go for two again. Just kick the extra point. So hopefully Campbell learned his lesson from that. I love Campbell. He's probably my favorite coach in the league right now, but he needs to know when to not be a risk taker and when to be one. And that's an instance where you shouldn't be it. So Dan Campbell has some things to work on with his own, but overall, I think he's a really good head coach. And you could tell the Lions love playing for him. Detroit is coming off their bye week, and the last time they played was on that Monday night game against Seattle back in week 4. And they played a really solid game, 42 points up on the board. Jared Goff did not have a single incompletion in that game, and he even had a receiving touchdown in that game. So a great game for Jared Goff. And the Lions are 3-1. And they're looking to keep up pace with the Vikings and the Packers and pretty much the entire NFC North. NFC North has been a great division so far. Then you got the Cowboys, who are 3-2 on the season. Strange year for Dallas, as they're 3-0 on the road, but 0-2 at home. That's pretty odd right there. The Cowboys have been one of the better home teams in the league over the past couple of seasons, and they still haven't won a home game yet. So my thing with the Cowboys is that, yes, they've won 2 straight games and they've won 3 on the season, but beating up on the Browns, that's not impressive to me. And then the Thursday night game they had against the Giants a few weeks ago, they won, but they had a lot of trouble putting the Giants away. And maybe, yeah, you can chalk that down to, well, the Giants are more competitive than what people think. But I don't know. They had trouble putting the Giants away, and the Cowboys have had their way with the Giants over the years. And then against us, awful mismanagement by Tomlin, and just our defense not being able to stop, our run game not being able to have a solid game against their defense, and Dallas having misuse after misuse after misuse in that game, and they still won. I think the Steelers lost that game more than the Cowboys won it. Let's put it like that. So, yeah, Dallas is 3-2, but I really don't know if I can totally trust them as of right now. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the team that has the hotter hand, and to me, that's the Lions right now. I think they learned from their mistake from last year. I think they go down to Dallas and they take advantage of a Cowboys team that hasn't played well at home. And unlike us, the Lions can actually run the ball efficiently. So Dallas, if they are to have any chance at winning this game, they got to stop Detroit's run game. And the Lions are going to run hog wild on the Cowboys all day Sunday. I just know it's going to be the case. So I'm going to go Detroit to win this one, because my biggest X factor, the Lions run game against Dallas's run defense. That's a huge mismatch right there. So give me Detroit to win this one. Next, we got the Falcons and the Panthers down in Charlotte. Looks like the NFC South plays each other this week. Falcons and the Panthers. And again, I'm keeping it short. I'm taking the Falcons all day. And this is going to be my spread of the week. 37-7. Atlanta cruises to this one for a couple reasons. Number one, they're playing the Panthers. The Panthers are possibly the worst team in the NFL, and they got destroyed by the Chicago Bears last week. Secondly, the Falcons are coming off a game in which they played on Thursday. So again, the extra days of rest factor, 9 times out of 10, I lean towards the team that played on Thursday. And finally, Kirk Cousins put on a show Thursday, as I mentioned in my Bucs Saints segment. Kirk Cousins joins the 500-yard pass game club, very exclusive list that features Big Ben, features Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Norm Van Brocklin, and a lot others. I'm not going to sit down here and list them all, but they're, former Falcon Matt Ryan, I believe he's on there. Dak Prescott, I believe he's on there. There's a lot more. I'm not going to sit down here and list every single one of them, but you get the point. There's been quarterbacks that have thrown for 500 yards. So amazing game for Kirk Cousins. Now they're playing Carolina that has a trash defense and a Panthers team that just has no confidence in themselves. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to go Atlanta to cover their I'm gonna go Atlanta all day. I think they easily cover the spread of what they have. I don't remember it right now. It's going to be on the screen, but yeah, you get the point. Atlanta all day. I have no idea why this is a Sunday night football game, but so be it. We got the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants going at it in Jersey. The Bengals are 2-3 on the season. They're coming off a devastating loss to the Ravens in overtime, 41-38. A game in which Joe Burrow played very well in that game, and Jamar Chase had an amazing game as well. But the Bengals defense just let them down big time, and very questionable coaching decisions by Zach Taylor to kick a field goal from 50 plus instead of having Joe Burrow take a shot down the field again, knowing the Ravens couldn't stop him all day. Very questionable coaching decisions by Zach Taylor right there. I think Bengals fans have a legit gripe for that right there. You know, hey, as a Steeler fan, I know what it's like to have a legit coaching gripe, but that's just how it is. But Cincinnati is, oh no, the Bengals are 1-4. I'm sorry, flip the records around. The Bengals are 1-4. The Giants are 2-3. But yeah, that's the story with the Bengals. At least they have some kind of identity on offense, though. So there you go, right there with Cincinnati. They just got to get their shit together when it comes to defense. As for the Giants, they are 2-3 on the season. And the Giants, they've been a lot more competitive than what people have given them credit for. The only really bad game the Giants have had this season was week 1 against the Vikings. And even then, the Giants held in there with the first half with the Vikings. It was just the second half Minnesota just ran away with it. Daniel Jones, it seems like he's cleaned up his act a little bit. That still, I don't think it's worth keeping him. And I still think that contract extension was just a big mistake for the Giants. But, you know, he has cleaned it up a little bit. As the Giants are coming off a big win against the Seahawks in Seattle. Who saw that coming? I certainly didn't. So I just don't see why this is a Sunday night game with all that being said. I think the Giants, you know, their defense needs to figure it out as well because they're going up against a very explosive Bengals offense here. And I think that's the takeaway here. I'm going to go Cincinnati to improve to 2-4, but I could maybe see the Giants, you know, making it a closer game than what people could think just because they've been, you know, competitive, you know, over the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to improve to 2-4 and drop the Giants to 2-4. So yeah, I'm going to go Cincinnati here. Wrapping up week 6, we got Monday Night Football between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets going at it in Jersey. So back-to-back primetime games for MetLife Stadium. As the biggest headline for this one, the Jets fired Robert Saleh. That completely came out of nowhere. As I think this has something to do with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Robert Saleh got a fair chance with the Jets. And I have no doubt right now that this has something to do with Aaron Rodgers because remember when he was up in Green Bay? He had a terrible relationship with Mike McCarthy that led to Green Bay getting rid of Mike McCarthy for Matt LaFleur. And they had a little bit of a rocky relationship in Aaron Rodgers last season up in Green Bay. Now it carried on over to Jersey where it's the same thing. It's a quarterback coach, you know, rocky relationship, and now Robert Saleh's gone. I literally have no doubt that it had something to do with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know the full story about it because I'm obviously not a Jets fan, but I am willing to bet money it had something to do with Aaron Rodgers. I literally have no doubt about it. As for the Bills, back-to-back losses for them after starting 3-0, kind of like us. But the difference is the Bills have a way better offense than we do. But still, Buffalo, they're coming off a tough loss to the Houston Texans. The Texans kicked a game-winning 59-yarder against them. So this one right here, it's another rematch. If you remember back in week 1 last year, they played on Monday Night Football, and that was the infamous game where Aaron Rodgers was out for the season after just 4 plays. I don't think that's gonna be the case this time. I'm gonna go Buffalo to win this one. I think they get their revenge on the Jets in Jersey in front of a national crowd. I think the Bills are just due to rebound here. They had 2 tough losses to 2 good teams. The Jets, they're just a completely dysfunctional organization, and it looks like the Aaron Rodgers stint with them is just backfiring completely. So, I don't know what the Jets do from here. I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett's gonna be the interim. I don't know. I have to look more into it, but I'm gonna go Buffalo to win this one over a reeling Jets team. And there you have it. Those are my week 6 picks of the 2024 NFL season. Let me know what you think and drop your picks down below. I am Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.